Good morning. And welcome to the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. We are expecting our District 6 candidates. Hopefully, we had some of our candidates they came last week. They were a little late, so they might still come. If not, we always have an opportunity to have an open forum. We like to start off with the word of prayer, and Rick is going to lead us in a word of prayer this morning.
Thank you. Okay, if we can bow our heads just a moment. Dear Lord, we want to thank you again for allowing us to wake up and see another beautiful day. We ask that you watch over each and every one of us as we travel here and far. These men are blessed, that's your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Rick. Well, since we don't have our speakers here right now, do we have anyone that's here for the very first time? We have a guest here. So we will try real hard to impress you so you'll come back.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Rollins Walker. I just moved here from Atlanta. Been here since May. And I work for Mark Fort Lincoln. I'm the fleet sales manager there. So Rodney told me about this and said you need to come, and this would be a good place to meet people and learn more about the city. Yeah. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming, and we'd like to welcome our listening audience, those that are viewing us by way of Facebook and live streaming. I'd like to just introduce to you particularly the folks that are responsible for the Tuesday Forum, and I'll let them introduce themselves and we'll tell you what they do. I'm one of the facilitators and conveners, Laura McClay, and this is.
My name is Thomas Moore. I'm an early childhood educator. I've been doing all kinds of things around this place, because when you're doing things for kids, you're doing things for everyone. I have no fear, because I've been with a 4-year-old. I have no fear, because I've been with a 3-year-old, 2-year-old, 1-year-old. And you will notice, I don't care how strong that person is, when that person gets before a kid, that person has to kneel. So I'm here kneeling every Tuesday.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm Steve Johnston. Been brewing the coffee since 2003. It's not that old. It really isn't. Well, then there was this thing about, well, maybe we should send out announcements by email. And then, well, there's this new stuff called the internet. And we ought to have a website. And the answer was always yes. So I'm still here. Thanks.
Yes.
So you see, we have music, we have technology, and this is.
I'm just here to look good.
She is our timekeeper. She goes.
What's her name?
Look good. Nathalie Miguel.
Look good. Good morning, I'm Jackie Edwards Walton. I'm one of the conveners for the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum.
Okay, and last but not least, we have our star. He's our motivator. He's our person that brings all of the fun and the glamour and the excitement to Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. Ta-da!
Go for it. I don't know why she set up all that gas, but that is absolutely not the case. But my name is Winston Robinson. I've been a forum facilitator since 28 2018, I believe, started host facilitating earlier this year, I think. Well,
Tell him who's your dad.
my dad is Tommy Robinson, who introduced me to the forum by way of wanting to spend more time with him when I was in my experiential marketing career, in which I traveled a lot. So Monday and Tuesdays were my weekends that landed me here. And all these years later, I'm now a facilitator. Is it ordained by the Miss Sarah Stevenson herself?
That's right, he sure was. And we'd like to welcome all of you. We have regulars that come through, but we do have rules. We do have our guest, Kimberly Owens, who's come from District 6, that will be sharing with us this morning. But we, what you've heard here, Rodney, right? Rollins, is we are dedicated, and we've been doing this for almost 40 years, a little over 40 years. Am I right, Jackie?
Yes.
Okay, and we are all committed, and we volunteer, and we meet almost every Tuesday, about 42 to 47 Tuesdays out of the year, from 8:30 to 10. And we have various guests that come in, and we allow them to present. We're gonna give Kim some time this morning, because she's here by herself. And then what we will do is open it up for questions, and we identify those that will raise their hands. And we don't debate, and we ask you to give a 30-second question, and we'll give her at least 2 to 3, maybe 4 minutes to answer the questions once we get into the question and answering phase. But we like to welcome you all here, and we like to ask you to just govern yourself accordingly. And for you, Kimberly, you're familiar with the group. People come in respectfully and they leave respectfully. And we'd like to thank Ricky Robbins for the donuts. He's been bringing the donuts, and we have the coffee, and we have coffee available. We just ask if you want to give a donation, fine. If not, Steve doesn't care. He's okay with that. But without any further ado, I'd like for Kimberly just to open. Did I miss anything?
Phone.
Oh, yes, phones. I need to silence your phones, please. Me included. Okay. We don't like interruptions. And Shay is in the back. Shay is one of our members of volunteers, group of volunteers that come almost every Tuesday morning. And we have the regulars. So once again, thank you, Kimberly, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm delighted to be here. I've been looking forward to this for many months. I think you'll recognize me because I do try to attend this, and I intend to attend going forward regardless of the outcome of this election, in large part because I found such a community here of people who are really interested and passionate about Charlotte, and I love that alignment. I've learned a lot here when I'm not able to make it. I do participate online, and I've tried to encourage a lot of people to engage with this forum. So I hope, I hope some of my District 6 people are out there watching. I applaud this forum for bringing together folks to talk about politics, not just as audience members, but also as presenters up here. I've had very few opportunities over the course of this candidate cycle to engage with my opponent. I think that is a disservice to the people of Charlotte. I think it's a disservice to District 6 particularly, because they have not been afforded an opportunity to see the two of us together and to get a vision of each of our respective differences. And yet again, my opponent is not here, but I thank you for holding space and enabling me to still come. So again, I'm Kimberly Owens. I'm running for Charlotte City Council in District 6. Who am I? I'm a mom, I'm a lawyer, and I'm a community leader. I've raised my kids here in Charlotte. I've lived here for 30 years, largely in District 6. I have served as an attorney, both as outside counsel in a couple of different law firms, and then as in-house counsel with a Fortune 100 financial services company. I left there a year ago because I really felt as though I needed to lean in more heavily into the outcomes that I wanted for our country and for our state. And I couldn't do that working in financial services. You've got a lot of restrictions, pay-to-play restrictions, you can only give a certain amount of money, etc. And I had the great good fortune of having my children approaching the end of their college years. And so I did have the privilege of being able to step aside from my career, and really the last year I've spent working on campaigns. I worked on the gubernatorial race. I worked, of course, on Vice President Harris's race. I worked more locally here on Woodson Bradley's race and Nicole Sidman's race. I felt very passionately about Nicole Sidman's race because I had known Trish Cotham and had handed out blue ballots for her in the past, and I felt betrayed by her party switch and what that portended for women's reproductive health in North Carolina. So I had a lot of passion. I took that into this last year, and the only thing I hadn't done was put my name on a ballot. So here I am. I'm laying it in. I am, as I said, I've got the 3 kids. My 3 children are at ages where they do want to come back to Charlotte, and they are not really able to do so with the opportunity that I had when I moved here in 1994. And so that's a big part of my why. And then finally, I do serve the nonprofit space. I am chair of RAIN, which is the Regional AIDS Interfaith Network, and the Havens, which is our housing facility. It houses 26 families who have experienced chronic homelessness and also have a variety of disabilities. And so that has been really passionate work at a time where our national picture is not as fortunate for our nonprofits. And so I want to take those talents here to our city council. So my 3 priorities for City Council, public safety has become such a hot topic, so I will start there. I will say that I do not approach it with the same amount of political stunts that my opponent does. I do not believe that we are a hellscape of a city. I think we are a very safe city. I think there are pockets of need, and those pockets of need have created a lot of tensions on our existing infrastructure. So if we look at an experiment, I think it's a failed experiment in mental health, particularly in North Carolina, where we have defunded a number of the resources that were previously there. I think we can point to a lot of different directions, and all of them really result in we are experiencing success of growth without a corresponding growth of our infrastructure, be it our police officers, our DAs, our courtrooms. There's a lot that we could be doing better to make people feel safer. But on the whole, the issues that we are experiencing are issues of our success. We are growing, and when you grow, you need additional resources. So I will stop there on public safety. My second element is good governance. I am a big proponent in transparency. I think a lot of the reasons that people do not have comfort with our current city council is because we have lacked some transparency. I am very hopeful that the new city attorney, because she does come from a municipal background, will be more aligned with some of the public disclosure that I think we all favor and have come to expect from our city leaders. And then finally, I will say that I am a proponent of a prosperous city, and that does have implications for transit. I don't believe you can have upward mobility without mobility. I do believe that I already voted for the transit tax, and I appreciate that reasonable minds can differ, and I'm open to those discussions today, but I personally did cast my vote for it because I felt it was good for District 6, and it's good for our future prosperity. So that is very high level who I am and why I am up here, and I am just delighted to be here, excited that this forum exists and that it does provide opportunities for people to see their candidates. So thank you.
Thank you. Our first question comes from Ryan Liddy.
Good morning. I come in here since I started about 3 months ago, and my wife's better get out of this house thing. But I hear all of these candidates with promises and things like that. This past weekend, I was in a conversation with someone, and he was talking about that the city manager, that the city has a report card that they keep on him. Do you have a written report card where you want to accomplish things so that I can, depend on my remembering what you said, I can look at your report card and say, you did this, you promised this, but you didn't do it, so I can know whether to vote for you or not?
I appreciate the question. I do not yet have one in mind. However, I will take a page from one of the at-large candidates who I supported, Namrata Yadav, who spoke very eloquently to the need for additional accountability and wanting to set up dashboards for each of our electeds. Those dashboards did include, from the very simplest, attending meetings and taking votes and being prepared, what committees you're on, a variety of touch points that are eminently verifiable and are kept in records but are not actually disclosed to the people you kind of have to dig for. And so making that sort of accountability more transparent. I would wholeheartedly do that. As far as campaign promises, just in full candor with you, I'm making very few actual promises. I've led a career of 30 years in law, trying my utmost not to overpromise and underperform. I don't know what I'm walking into up there because I have not served yet. My promises are around my own behaviors, and you can know that I will not take lightly conflicts of interest, for example. I will not be buying up large swaths of property along our future transit corridors for future benefit. I will not be investing in single-family homes and then turning those around and renting those at usurious rates. I won't be doing any of that because it's not my true north. My true north is to do what I can in the time that I have to make this city better. And I expect you to hold me accountable. I expect to be up here, not just when I'm seeking re-election, but at other times when this community asks me to be here or wants information on a particular topic that the city council is discussing. So I intend to be available to everyone, and I hope I'm hearing on a routine basis how I'm doing, not just with an annual scorecard.
Natalie.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for those kind words that you said about our group. I'm interested in your opinion on the government shutdown and what you think the Democratic strategy should be.
You flatter me thinking that anyone would care about what I think about Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer's strategy. I have been very clear throughout this campaign that while I am a Democrat, I view local governance as not needing to become embroiled, nor is it a best service to the people to become embroiled in some of the nonsense, quite honestly, that happens both at our state level and at our federal level. I am keen to work across aisles with people, and I have consistently cited President Truman, who said it'd be amazing, it's amazing how much you can get done if you don't care who gets credit. So in a local government sense, I don't care who gets credit. If there are things that Charlotte needs and Phil Berger needs me to give him all the glory for whatever he's been able to do for the great state of Mecklenburg, then I'm inclined to do so because the people need action and they need money. We need resources for the things that we need here. As far as the government shutdown goes, I am very supportive of the efforts that are being made to hold this government accountable. It is a government that is controlled, much like the state of North Carolina's government is controlled by the Republicans. So the fact that we don't have a budget here in North Carolina is equally heavy to me as the fact that we have got a government shutdown. I hate that that is going to hurt people the way that it is. I wish that I had better solutions. I heard many calls today on the news for people to really donate to our food pantries and to be very prepared for November 1st when SNAP benefits are no longer going to be available to families. Having families bear the brunt of hurt because our electeds cannot get along or cannot get out of their own way is very frustrating to me as a citizen. But I do hold true that none of us need to be paying the quadruple rates for our health insurance that are going to happen if we don't hold the line right now and get the Republicans across on that issue. So it is very complicated. As a city council member, I will do what I can to be responsive to the people's needs when the government does shut down as it is right now.
Robert Collins.
Good morning, Ms. Kimberly. In this room, a hot topic is usually gentrification. So I want to take that to your area for a moment. In your area, there's a lot of homes being built that are 2.35 million, 3.5 million. What are you going to do, or what do you want to do for the people that have been there forever, but now their taxes are gone irate because they're gentrifying themselves as well?
I had a meeting yesterday with the homeowners association around the bounds of the UDO and wanting to understand what and how they could react to what they perceived as a real risk of duplexes and triplexes in their neighborhood and losing the character of their neighborhood. So there are so many different folks who are affected by development, and there are so many different narratives that we tell ourselves around why we more broadly expand developmental opportunities. The truth is, in this neighborhood, if somebody does go in and build a duplex or a triplex in the neighborhood, they are going to be changing the character of the neighborhood, but they're not going to be addressing attainable housing, because to your point, those are going to be $1 million duplexes, or, you know, it's just, we're not getting at it in the right way, is what I'm saying. My area, yes, is an exceptionally wealthy area. The fact right now, you know, as I said, my kids can't afford to live in Charlotte. They can afford to live in their high school bedrooms. District 6 is experiencing a workforce that can't afford to live there. You know, I've got a mother I want to move down, that I'm going to have to build an ADU in my backyard so that she can live there. You know, we are picking at the edges of things. We're not really addressing attainable and more broadly our housing shortage. I don't have an easy answer to gentrification. I know that the city has done a lot to try to make resources available for people who want to age in place and who need some assistance with taxes. I know that there are efforts in place to help them. You know, Luana Mayfield has spoken so eloquently about some of the programs that she's put forward to help people repair their aging homes. Truth be told, what I'm seeing in my own neighborhood in Montebello Crossing is that these homes are being ripped down. You know, they're tearing them down. You know, I had a house look just like mine, a $3.8 million house went up right next to it. So I hear that, I know that that is happening. The argument is that developers won't build them if people won't buy them. You know, again, hearkening back to what Luana has said, the education of a community, you know, if they do have a homeowners association, helping them know how to enforce their covenants so that they are able to keep out certain sizes of homes or certain dwelling unit styles, or just really helping them keep the character of their neighborhood. But it is a problem. You know, we have a lot of money coming in here, and those folks do seem to want to buy big houses. And, you know, that's capitalism. That's how that's working. And so I don't have a great answer other than hoping to connect people with the resources that keep people able to pay their taxes, keep people able to repair their homes. And those are all things that I know that the city is doing to try to alleviate that stress.
Jackie.
Hello, Kim. I was looking at the numbers that had come into the Board of Elections as of this morning. And in your area, more than 2,500 folk have voted at South Park, which is almost 10 times some of the other primary sites. I just mentioned that, but I wanted to know, tell us about your early years to get you to the thinking that you have today.
So I am, I'm originally from Illinois. I'm the first generation in my family to graduate from college. My dad worked in a steel mill and my mom worked in retail. My grandfather worked in a steel mill, and his dad before him was a failed entrepreneur and a failed farmer as well. I am really such a beneficiary of upward mobility that my kids don't necessarily see anymore. You know, I mention them again because they are my why. Because so much of what I saw when I moved here in 1994, when I moved here in 1994, I made $57,000. I was a graduate of law school. I was able with that $57,000 to get my own apartment, to have a car, to have car insurance, to have health insurance, to service debt on my student loans, because I had gone to Northwestern University and then to Chapel Hill for law school, had a lot of student loans. I was able to do all of that on that income And Charlotte just seemed like this magical place where anything could happen and I could be a success. I struggled at first in my first couple of law firms because there was a lot of generational wealth, and not coming from that, I didn't feel like I belonged. And so, the first few years here, I did feel a bit like an outsider. But as time evolved and opportunities evolved and I progressed through my law firms and then into in-house, I've been able to have these children who, all I thought I had to do was send them to college and they'd be set, and now they're back and they're not thriving, they're not launching, they're not experiencing those opportunities. One of my sons makes literally $3,000 more a month than I did when I moved here in 1994. I mean, a year, when I moved here in 1994. So he's in his high school bedroom and he's got a good job, but it is just not enough. So our wealth disparity and our wage gaps have really colored my impressions of what opportunities are available to our young kids when they try to move back to Charlotte now. But the Charlotte, for me, it felt magical. It was the biggest city I'd ever lived in. It still is. It just had such potential, and I want to see that again. I want to experience that through their eyes again. But I thank you for the question. But yeah, I grew up, I'm just a Midwestern girl. I've lived here, moved here in 91, and then to Charlotte in 94.
I have a question. My question is, as you have been around as a candidate, and you've been around the other candidate that's running against you in District 6, what have you picked up from the conversations or from what you've heard that they will be sharing with the community to encourage people to vote for them, that you think that you should possibly elaborate more on?
To be fair, I've had very few opportunities where I've been around her. This week, while we've been standing out in the rain trying to get people to vote for us, has really been the longest period of time that Krista and I have been together. I do take from what I've heard her proxies and her advocates say when they've been out there as well, is there's a very big focus on safety. And the murder of Irina Zaruska and some of the calls by the FOP for the National Guard have been reposted and articulated by my opponent as being, potential good avenues for us as we look at public safety. I disagree vehemently with that. I think anyone in this room, you know that the National Guard is not a civilian police force. That is not appropriate. So I push back on that. I've also heard, her say that her experience set is greater than mine because she has served as a constituent coordinator. I can't remember the terminology, but effectively she's been married to somebody on city council and has fulfilled a lot of his softer touch responsibilities that are, I guess, not his true north. I take issue with that only because, I really do not think that, being a spouse and supporting that spouse is something, that's something that all of us do. I don't know that it's something that really prepares you well for office. I appreciate that she helps him with his job. But I will say the hard skills are really where I want to draw the distinctions. So I've been a real estate attorney for 30 years. I've due diligenced $1 billion in transactions. I've done M&A. I've done a number of the things that do touch on what City Council does. In addition, I've also had those soft roles in the community where I've served my HOA. I started a nonprofit for our local school because they needed to raise funds for a playground that was ADA compliant. I have, served Council for Children's Rights, representing kids facing expulsion from school. I've done all of those soft things that give you insights into the needs of the community. I've done all of that. I've been able to get a stop sign where one was needed in a neighborhood in South Park. I've done those things, but in addition to that, I've also honed my skills as an attorney. And so I would challenge that there is a clear incumbent. She hasn't so much as called herself an incumbent, but it's definitely been a sense that she's already going to hit the ground running because of her husband. And I challenge that. I don't find that persuasive.
Okay, Winston?
Good morning. So I wanted to ask you about being a representative. Well, if you were the representative of District 6, what would your magic wand ideal structure look like for the people who live, I believe, in Cedar Knolls, Savannah Woods, and there's one more Libyan property that is very nestled in a lot of wealth? How would you optimize their lived experience?
I think that we have been able over the last few years to widen the lens on what community means and how to incorporate more mixed income housing. So my intention would be to have more linkages between those communities and the communities that surround. You know, we've got the loop that now goes around South Park. I've had people say, I want access to these greenway spaces. I want access to these amenities. I think you need to have more linkages between communities that do have mixed income housing, more linkages to the amenities of South Park. I think that lifts all of us up to have those sorts of spaces be shared spaces and not be spaces that are just uniquely designed for a particular 1 mile radius of South Park Mall. I think we can all benefit from that. I think we also need to look very closely at our workforce housing. There are so many people who work in District 6 who cannot afford to live in District 6. We need to be more thoughtful about what success looks like in terms of how we are incorporating community, be it our police officers or our teachers or folks, again, who serve very well that community and would benefit immensely from having more housing that was available to them. So my best answer is just to establish linkages and to not have these isolated corridors or pockets of folks who live in Libyan housing or any of the other opportunities that are going up there.
Robert Collins.
Good morning again. You said that you did vote for the highway road tax. Most people in this room, from what I've heard, don't agree with it. What reason could you give the people in this room to say that they should vote for it?
I'd like to rephrase the question a little bit. I'm not going to tell you how you should vote. I came in here knowing that I was walking into a room of people who did not vote for it or will not vote for it, and I knew that I did. The reason I did, and I was back and forth with it, I took a lot of my comfort ultimately from the Black Political Caucus, the forum that I attended here, where the Black Political Caucus went through their 6 reasons. Now I've been told since then that I was hoodwinked by those persuaded that I should not have been as persuaded as I was, but I got a lot of comfort out of it. But I was already inclined towards it because I'm trying to think with the mindset of what is good for District 6. And what is good for District 6 right now is for people to be able to retain jobs in District 6. And I talked to a really brilliant woman who owned a hotel in District 6. And she had a mid-level manager who was about to fire some employees who just were not consistently coming to work. They just could not get there on time. And instead of saying something to this manager, she said, you know, let's go on a field trip tomorrow. And she took her and the rest of the human resources folks on a tour of Charlotte by bus all day. And after that, they got back to the hotel and they're like, yeah, we're not firing anybody. They appreciated through that experience that they were putting their lived experience onto another person's body, and it wasn't fair because these folks had absolutely no control. A lot of folks, either if they've got a vehicle, you know, maybe it doesn't run or whatever, and they could not consistently arrive at work on time. And I love that example of leadership and of somebody taking a managerial moment and really showing somebody instead of just telling somebody what the constraints are. So I took from that and other businesses that I talked to who also similarly said, my people can't live here, but they need to be able to get to work. And so I thought, okay, well, this is good for 6, but is it good for the city? And then again, I did take some comfort from the Black Political Caucus. Probably the thing that was the most persuasive to me, and you can disabuse me if I was misled, but the education component. My kids all went to magnet school, and I said it before, you know, they had the great good fortune of having a mom and a dad with a car who could drive them to the shuttle stop so that they could get the opportunities to go into Randolph Middle School. And Randolph Middle School's IB program absolutely, unequivocally prepared them for success at Myers Park IB. and then for college. And I don't know, I mean, they probably would have been fine at their local school, which was Carmel, but I wanted them to have a broader experience. I wanted them to go someplace else. And a lot of kids don't have that opportunity. And so I did take some persuasion from the BPC that they felt as though this transit opportunity would enable more kids to access some of the programs, both during school and then after school programs, where they're not able to get to and fro. So that's how I made my decision, but it's one vote. I have no other responsibility right now other than, if I am elected, to serve with honor and purpose when we select these people. I did throw my hat in the ring for the Transit Authority because I am skeptical of how those dollars are going to be used. I hope to bring that healthy skepticism to my leadership if I'm not elected as a District 6 representative. I hope I'll be on the Transit Authority.
Okay, Winston.
So going back to the South Park area, it seems like such a microcosm of what Charlotte's going through with the growth. And given that you have been in District 6, I believe, since the 90s with Montebello Crossing and how your experience with the houses going up beside you, where is that line between growth and optimization for your current residents? Like, what would you say to your MSDs and MSAs for the trajectory of South Park? Like, you can take advantage and leverage the boom, but the infrastructure will have its insecurities. Where do you stand of how I would like to live and how this city should grow?
It's a big question. My sense is that the infrastructure is possibly one of the most underappreciated but most important elements of smart growth. And I say that, the neighbors that I was talking to yesterday, they've had a sinkhole down at the end of their neighborhood for 6 months that they've been trying to get fixed. One of their big concerns was if they do get more duplexes and triplexes, how that's going to affect, everything from stormwater to sewage. Things actually impacted when you add additional density. The lived experience is something that we definitely need to keep at the fore of our decision making. So when I refer to smart growth, I refer to growth that does capture what it looks like to have a neighborhood that only has one point of ingress and egress, and then you're adding density into that. So what does that developer need to do by way of a community benefit agreement, by way of some moral suasion? I don't know what all the tools are in the toolbox to be able to have a developer appreciate that once you develop and you hand over the keys, you may be out, but everybody there's got to live with the results of what you've added. And so being able to look at more sidewalks, be able to look at, again, another point of ingress or egress from a neighborhood, really couching them as safety issues, particularly if you're not providing any parking for some of these structures, parking on the streets. What does that do to your street traffic? How does your public safety get down those streets in the event of a fire or an emergency? Really being more broad in our thinking about what we expect of our developers. And perhaps this won't make me a developer darling, but I believe that we should be able to expect more because people are already in these neighborhoods. You're not just de novo plopping down a neighborhood. I heard somebody the other day say to me, why don't we have more roundabouts? Roundabouts are wonderful, but roundabouts are really hard to do if you've already got an established neighborhood because they take so much real estate. They're hard to do, but we need to be thoughtful about our traffic patterns and just, again, the lived experience and the safety of the residents who remain. So I take a broader view of smart development.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Kimmy, you're doing a fantastic job in sharing. Jackie has a question? Okay.
I want to ask you, and I don't know if you know about single room occupancy here in the city. Can you just share with us, what your thoughts are regarding that?
Yeah, housing has been really front of mind. It's interesting that you asked me that question today because last night, yesterday's weather was just horrific. It wasn't fit for man or beast, and we were out there for hours, chasing notes, and yet all I could think about was I wanted to get home and get into a warm bath and then get into my bed. And there was a gentleman out there who was homeless, and he got some food from us, and we sat and talked to him for a while, and we tried to find him housing. And we called around, called a couple places, got on a wait list here or there, and then we, of course, we're incorporating him in the conversation. I'll call him Tom. So we're incorporating Tom in the conversations. And we found a place we thought, and he's like, well, no, I can't go there because it's not safe. I can't go there because I know somebody who had everything stolen. I feel like occupancy is one bogey that we need to hit, but we also need to ensure and instill a sense of security in the people who are using it. We need to broaden the lens on the types of emergency housing that we're providing so that families can stay together. We need to broaden the lens on the types of housing so that we are not expecting people to traipse all over the city, again, on our non-existent transit to try to access the places that they need to go. We need to be, I'd love it, we were talking about it as a Democratic group, I'd love it if somebody could call the Democratic Party and we have a social worker or somebody there who would say, hey, these are your resources, let me help you navigate this path, because this path is just going to get bumpier, I fear, over the next 3 years, as our nonprofits are not able to fill this space, as they are, losing their funding. Our faith communities, the Faith and Housing Initiative that Luana Mayfield leads, I've been so impressed with the work of Caldwell Presbyterian, but I've been honestly a little depressed to see that there isn't a single District 6 church that is thrown in for that training on how to convert land into a higher purpose. Convert unused land into either housing for or folks facing housing insecurity. So we've got a lot of challenges. But I do think that we need to not just think of it as a room is a room is a room. It needs to be a room and a space and a safe place for somebody. And so I think we need to try harder on what people actually need and incorporate them into the conversation. So I don't know what Tom did last night. I'm looking forward to seeing him today. I brought some food. We gave a bunch of stuff yesterday. We're filling in the edges as humans. I mean, these are humans who need. So I would ask all of you, I guess, it's gonna get tough out there. And we just gotta do better. But I don't have a wand or a secret sauce for it.
Another question. You mentioned that the reason you voted for the tax mainly is because it's District 6. You're concerned about District 6. What about 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? Do you know where the transits are going to take place, where they're going to go, directions that everything's going to take place, and how concerned are you about my district, which may not be District 6?
I very clearly, I am trying to look at District 6 lens simply because I'm running for District 6 representation. In a normal process where I'm just as a voter, I would have been possibly more broad in my thinking. However, again, I was very comforted by the thoughts of others, and particularly the Black Political Caucus. Because if you look at the statistics as who is using busing, and I'm most excited about the money that's going to go towards busing, to be honest with you. The rail line, I think, has been something that has been promised multiple times, and we have not successfully complied with our visions there, and that's unfortunate. Again, I would not have put in for the Transit Authority if I thought that they couldn't use a skill set of somebody with planning experience and somebody with appreciation for zoning and somebody who is skeptical of the past failures. So I apologize for not having broadened my lens enough, but I really am trying to be very disciplined about District 6, and I'm trying to do the job of a council member and put my district first, appreciative of the fact that there are others who are taking hard stances and some folks who are not. I've heard some folks kind of ride that line up here, and I thought I would go ahead and tell you the truth that I voted for it. I could have told you that I was neutral, but I'm not neutral. I voted for it because I thought it was good for District 6, and I didn't think that it was a net negative for the other districts, provided it actually complies with its promises.
I'm gonna tell you, you are killing it. You are in the high seat, taking every question, unopposed. Thank you for your willingness to do this. Let me ask you a question, just in the idea of being so strongly District 6. What practices of equity look like to you voluntarily for District 6? How can you extend outside of those golden gates to reach out to other districts to say, hey, we could partner here, we could do these things to share resources and information to enhance, again, a lived experience for Charlotte overall, and to represent what, again, it's that equitable attempt could be from District 6 to extend out.
I appreciate the description of the Golden Gates of District 6. It is funny, I am in District 6, but I am not of District 6, and it does give me a unique lens. The number of people who think that I grew up the way that I live now is very funny to me. Truth be told, if I do build this ADU in my backyard for my mother, it'll be the nicest place she's ever lived. And that is heavy on me. The fact that, we do have the amount of privilege that we have in District 6, it was always something that I raised my children with an appreciation for, that this is not how everybody lives, and this is not an entitlement, it is not an expectation of yours. I've had some really wonderful conversations, and I'm finding that I'm not weak. I think going into this race, I felt a little bit like I felt in that first law firm where I didn't belong, and everybody in District 6, was generationally wealthy, and that's not actually true. There's a lot of folks in District 6 who think like I do and feel like I do and do feel a responsibility to the rest of the city. I, again, have already expressed my disappointment that our churches are not yet aligned, but to be fair, some of them have been giving a lot of money to programs like Caldwell and their conversion of their Sunday school into 21 units for unhoused folks. So there are a variety of ways that I want to lift up opportunities for District 6 to lean in to the needs of the city in ways that are comfortable and in ways that are effective for them. And it may not look the same for everybody. Again, it may not be a church giving up its acreage for housing in this moment in time. It may be an iterative process where we are looking at the congregation's values and assessing whether they have the skill sets necessary to provide wraparound services. Or maybe they are looking at having a senior center there. Maybe that's a baby step in a direction that helps the community outside of District 6. Adult daycares are, my gosh knows my dad could have used one when my mom was caring for him. There are needs that maybe are things that I can help propel and ideas that I can share. As far as with the other districts, I've really been excited about the opportunity to work with a number of the other districts. Obviously, there's adjacency of 6 to 4 of the other districts. I have had good relationships so far with City Council, both the at-large and the district representatives, and would hope to continue to partner in ways that make sense for the folks who live in those corridors.
Thank you. We got Robert with a question.
See, I have a lot of questions to that. I spend a lot of time in District 6. I'm a member of the JCC, and I know a lot of influential people in your area. First, I want to say thank you for your honesty and just saying, hey, I just look at District 6. I appreciate that. What I want to ask you is this. This is not the only forum you've done. This is not the only room that you're in. What was the most difficult question you've had to answer in other rooms?
Wow. I will say that this forum has been the most engaging, and even though I wasn't answering the questions, I've heard the questions asked of others, particularly the at-large and during the primary. This race has not had me at as many forums as I would like to have been, so largely this room right now, I don't want to pander, but some of these questions are actually the most challenging that I've had. I usually get a chance to do my stump speech, but because my opponent doesn't show up, there isn't as much engagement as there is today. I was on Charlotte Talks, and Mike Collins did ask some good questions about the use of the city's monies. I think some of the more difficult questions are along how would I have voted had I been at the table for this particular vote. So whether it's on the expenditure for the Panthers stadium improvements, or whether it's on Chief Jennings' settlement proceeds. All of those are very difficult for me to answer, in large part because as a lawyer, I really want to be fully informed and not just pop off with an answer, I think this or I think that. And so I need to equivocate on those because I don't know what I don't know on those. And so I would say anything that's asking me to second guess the decision making of the folks who are currently on the dais is a difficult question for me. But it's unfortunately not one that I've been asked very often because we haven't engaged on this race very much.
Kim, I have a question. Okay. My question is, what have you done to try to cultivate a relationship with those that are serving, especially those that are at large, those that are serving on city council now? Have you tried to cultivate relationships with them to start just assuming that you will be voted in as a candidate for District 6?
I have been attending city council and sort of doing my shadow voting from the seats, who I would align with, and I know that I've got some commonalities with a certain number of folks up there. Dante has been really open and very helpful with her advice. Luana and I have been multiple times, because we both have a commitment to the LGBTQ community. We've often been in shared spaces. Dimple introduced me to Hugh McCall, who I had met, decades ago, but of course, he didn't remember me. But, she made some connections there. I do think it has helped me immensely to have as many good Democrats up there who are looking at this race and are hopeful. A number of them and a number of the people in this room, this is actually where I should have started my conversation. A number of you worked on Stephanie Hand's race. And I would not be where I am but for the progress and the success that she showed. So I've led with that energy, and the folks who have tried to win this seat before me, I have really made some of those connections. So I look forward to good relationships with all of our city council. Ed Driggs has been wonderful. Ed and I have a lot of common thoughts as well. So yeah, I look forward to serving with all of them.
Thank you.
Yeah, Shedrick Matthews. You kind of stole a little bit about that. I was going to go in that direction, so I'll go the antithesis of that question. How do you plan to handle conflict or disagreements with your city council peers if elected? And you talk about this is probably a two-part question. You talk about your focus on District 6. Do you see a district that is similar in some of its problems or issues that you can kind of partner with that council member to maybe find a peer that you can work with or through to help both districts, grow or benefit in the same way? So how do you handle conflict with your peers? And then what most similarity do you find in the district?
So the conflict question is one I've had several times as well, and I'll be consistent with my answer. I've worked as a woman in a law practice that was often still in this day in 2025. I'm often the only woman at a table. And I hope you'll forgive if it sounds manipulative, but it's really very effective. I've been really most effective when I'm able to persuade people that my ideas are their ideas. And again, going back to that Truman quote, if you do not care about getting credit, you can get a whole lot done. And so being able to be effective often is first and foremost listening and discerning what somebody's real drivers are. And I would intend to continue that skill set. I've settled lawsuits. I've worked through myriad negotiations on big transactions between parties that seemingly have little in common. And I think you can get there, but it does take patience, and it takes listening, and it takes approaching situations with curiosity. And so I think first and foremost, that is going to be my goal, is to appreciate the people who I serve with and who have equally passionate desires for their respective districts or for their at-large space, and to see where they're coming from and to lead with that curiosity. So that's my hope with respect to disputes. Of course, there will be some. The second part of your question around who I would necessarily have some commonality with, I think it's, District 7 and Ed Driggs. We have a lot of similar socioeconomic drivers. We have a lot of similar assumptions that are made. When I go back to the nonprofit I started when my kids were in elementary school, That was for Old Providence Elementary School. The presumption, because of the zip code, was that they didn't have any needs and that the families could all take care of it, and that wasn't happening. And what we were finding was that we wanted to have an ADA compliant playground because we had several children who had various needs that would be served by that. We also didn't have any shade for our teachers who were outside. And we wanted all these things, but we couldn't raise enough money in a calendar year. And the PTA has to spend everything that they raise within that calendar year. So I copied from, as all good lawyers do, we don't create a whole lot of new stuff, copied from another nonprofit in Atlanta that was experiencing the same thing, that had a community expectation that they were wealthy enough, but they actually couldn't get things done. And so I started the foundation. To this day, we still have the Firecracker 5K that runs through the neighborhoods around there and has funded myriad capital improvements. So I think District 6 and 7, while they are on paper, exceptionally and exceedingly wealthy, there are pockets within them that do not always benefit, that the rising tide is not lifting all the boats in both of those districts. And so I think Edrix and I would probably have a lot of commonality. If Edwin Peacock is up there, Edwin brings a perspective that I appreciate around his previous service. We do not agree on a lot, but on some things where we do have commonality, I would expect to partner with him if he's on council. I have found all of us have in common so much about our desires for treating people with respect and dignity and making a better Charlotte. So I'll work with anybody who wants that.
Well, Kim, we appreciate your being here and sharing, and I guess this has not been that much of a challenge for you this morning because everybody's been so nice and kind.
Y'all have been.
But we have Ken that we
He hasn't asked me a question.
That's
He's usually
right.
pretty spicy.
That's right. That's what we were waiting for too. So now he has a question.
So you're gonna give her a break, right?
And if you do what he did, I'm gonna sue you too.
And now I'm worried.
You mentioned Driggs and the other fellow. My question is, in regards to that, there's an old saying about politics and certain parties is from the White House to the outhouse. And it's been pretty obvious that a lot of that is quite true. So where do you draw the line when things from the White House come into our local outhouse for decisions and the local outhouse ain't voting consistently or in the particular place that you do? Can you think of or name any instance where you think that could possibly happen, especially in this political climate?
First and foremost, I'll go to the National Guard example. I think that's a really poignant vision of politicization of a safety issue that had myriad causes and a very quick rush to judgment by our national leaders, by our state leaders, and then a bandwagon that was joined by some of our local leaders, much to my chagrin and to the detriment of our city. I am a Democrat. I am not currently seeking any office other than the one right here on this card, and I don't feel the need to curry favor with the party by towing a line that does not feel consistent to my values. I'm disappointed in those who do, particularly those in my opponent's party who do feel they need to parrot dangerous commentary from the White House or from our state leadership that doesn't serve the interests of Charlotte. I am going to advocate to the best of my ability for Charlotte, full stop. And there are going to be times when I disagree with my party. There are going to be times when I disagree with, as I said, Ed Driggs or other folks up there who may feel in a moment that it is advantageous for them to parrot something that is said at the top of the house. We are in absolutely unprecedented times, and it's a lot of why I'm leaning in. I really feel in my heart of hearts that if I don't try to do this, then I've let my children down. I want a better Charlotte for them. I want a better democracy for them. And I think it starts locally. So for me, I adhere to the tenet that people vote nationally the way they feel locally. So if I can, through micro constituent focused actions here in Charlotte, make you as a Charlottean feel like you matter and that your government is responsive to you, maybe you show up and vote all up and down the ticket. Maybe we drive performance in that way. So I think it's a responsibility for us to lead with those sorts of constituent focused activities that do highlight that government matters and that we can get it right.
Lastly, when it comes to you and your opponent, tell us the differences you have in approach. What would be different from the way you would approach running for council in District 6 as you opposed to how you believe your opponent would run in District 6, or run District 6?
My opponent has been very focused in the few times that I've heard her speak on, again, public safety and trying to be politic on this. I feel as though a lot of that is a red herring and a coded way of otherizing folks that she believes works in District 6. That is a coded language for otherizing parts of Charlotte that are not District 6. Let's be honest, if she's calling for the National Guard, she's not sending it into Symphony Park. Like, let's just be honest. You know, that would be coming into other areas of the city that, you know, it is very comfortable for her to declare lawless or to declare, you know, Democrats are soft on crime and all these sorts of hyperbolic statements that I don't really think serve us. So I appreciate being tight with my word. As I've already said, I'm tight with my promises. I am responsible with my actions. I don't have a hair trigger. I am not going to be someone who threatens a teacher with consequence. I'm not going to be someone who threatens a chief of police with consequences if I don't like a decision that's being made. I'm not going to be someone who goes around behind the mayor and advocates for a position that I did not prevail on city council, going straight to Phil Berger or anybody in Raleigh. I'm not going to do that. I'm also not going to be somebody who shares sort of the inside baseball and the sausage making of city council with the press. I'm going to be responsive and transparent in a way that is ethical and appropriate for the job. I cannot speak to what she would do. I can only speak to her husband's legacy that she hews very close to when she talks. I also know that my opponent has expressed absolutely no reservations about anything that, quote, her party is doing. That was a question that was asked by the Charlotte Observer. It was one where I was asked how would I differ from my party, and I differ from my party in several ways. I have absolutely no desire, for example, to defund the police. I would rather they be funded appropriately. I have some civilian services that are helping them, and some of the things that they need are well funded and well trained. I disagree with a number of things that Chuck Schumer does on the daily. I mean, I have all sorts of disagreements, and to have somebody looking at the Trump administration and to categorically say they can't think of a single disagreement is jarring to me, particularly as a lawyer. You know, I took an oath to the Constitution of the United States, and I feel very strongly about that. So for me, I have myriad disagreements, not only with my own party, but of course with the Republican Party, and I would expect anyone in good conscience to have some questions about what is going on when we are, you know, bombing boats, you know, that we have absolutely no jurisdiction over. I mean, I could go on for hours on the things that we're doing, but to have somebody who wants to represent the city who doesn't see issue with that is really concerning to me.
Thank you. I will note that this summer, I believe Symphony Park did have an R&B concert, so National Guard, hold up. Wait a minute. Shay, this is it. Then we're going to allow her 3 minutes to close.
I just wanted to ask about your position on lack of opportunity for youth in underserved communities, what you plan to do to not level the playing field, but to create additional opportunities for those youth in underserved communities.
So it is my hope that if the transportation referendum goes through, that some of the things that are prioritized are those things that gave me comfort with it, which are access to some of the programs, both after school and during school, that are available. I didn't have a car until after my first year of law school. And it did have a lot of consequence. It had a lot of limitations on the places I could go, the things that I could do all through, my undergraduate years. I really want to open up paths for, particularly in these days where we have so many working families who cannot take off of work to take a child to an enrichment activity or to take a child to a first job when they don't yet have a license. I really want to see transportation be a difference maker, and maybe I'm naive, maybe it won't happen. But I want to see opportunities there for people to enrich themselves and not have to sacrifice time at work to take a kid someplace. And so I'd love to see more of that. What does that look like? Again, going back to these faith communities, does it look like having our faith communities fill in some of these gaps? Are they opening their sanctuaries at times, for events for young people? Are they, really engaging in a way that is more in keeping with loving thy neighbor and, and bringing up a new generation of kids who have the world available to them that they don't right now. But I don't have a perfect answer to that, because I know so many families now do not have a spare parent who's just waiting around to haul kids all over the city to these opportunities. So for me, transit does perhaps open that door so a family can continue to work to keep a roof over their heads and to keep food on the table, and yet kids can avail themselves of some of the rich opportunities that exist all over the city.
Okay. We have two of our elected officials here, so I'm going to ask Mr. Majid if he would stand and share with us some information as to what is going on in Raleigh right now as it relates to Charlotte, and I'm just hitting him with this right now.
You definitely are hitting me with this. Peace, everyone. I'm the CPG and I represent North Carolina House. I am the CPG and I represent North Carolina House District 99, which is Northeast Charlotte, University, Hidden Valley, Back Creek area. We just adjourned in the House of Representatives this past week, and but the Senate didn't adjourn. There's a battle going on the Republican side between the House and the Senate. They can't get on the same page. So we are bystanders, and hopefully the Senate did not adjourn. So that means, and the Speaker of the House, the Speaker of the House said that we're adjourning and probably won't come back to next year. So that was a shot fired on the Senate side, and the Senate side didn't accept it. They said, "Well, we're not adjourning." So it means more likely in November, people will get on the same page in the latter part of November. But the Democrats, we're the bystanders. We we agreed with the House budget and team up against the Senate because it wasn't as far as teachers' pay and stuff like that. That was very closely in line with what we wanted, and so we took that approach with the Speaker. That upset the pro tem on the Senate side, and so they've been arguing about this and that, and so we just have to wait it out and see. We have DEI, we got a few vetoes that are coming up. They're still on the board. 3 of them about DEI. Evidently they don't have enough votes to take it over now. And then they got some gun bills. They got some gun bills also. So, we're gonna be supporting the sustaining the governor's veto. And I guess if they bring that to the floor, they must think they have the vote. So we hold a critical factor in that as far as the overriding that veto. So, oh yes, they drew the lines last week. You know, they drew the lines. Gerrymander, okay, big time. And remember now, I gotta think back. Remember, Charlotte was like 11% down in that last election. Sheriff Easton lost that election. That was critical. That was critical. We're paying for that now because anything the governor can't veto redistricting. He can't veto that. But so last time we had a majority on that court, and they made them redraw the lines. They drew the lines one way, then they made them redraw it again because we had a Democratic majority on the Supreme Court. Well, sure, lost by what? 0.00001 or something like that. And once they took that court, at least we could file lawsuits. We filed a lawsuit, and that's why we were able to, with that Democratic, basically, court was able to, take them back, and they didn't approve that, and they had to redistrict again. But soon after they won that race, came and so they redrew the lines. But if somebody have a lawsuit and it goes before the Supreme Court, the North Supreme Court, they don't rub us down. Whatever the legislature said, that's what was critical about that last situation. And she lost by what, 401 votes or something? 401 votes. We had 11% of the people in Mecklenburg County who didn't. The voting was down. So we could have done something critically. We could have gotten more people on the Council of State. We could have had a Supreme Court that was reflected our desires, and here we are. So everybody get out and vote. We got an election coming up in 28, but we got election now. We got an election now, but it's not the statewide or affects the legislature. But everybody get out and vote.
Thank you, Mr. Majid. Now we will have information from our city council member, and then Jackie.
Good morning. So, run hard, okay? We need your city council. James Mitchell, Charlotte City Council at large. So November 3rd, we'll have our new city attorney, first black female. We convinced her to leave Guilford County and come join the city of Charlotte. So Miss Angela Fife will start November 3rd. Last night was a good night for Batesboro Road Corridor. The City Council 11-0 approved Excelsior Club. Thank you, Denton Russell, for keeping it going since 2019. Yes. Thirdly, last night we approved 6 affordable housing projects for our community using our ARPA funds and housing trust funds. And let me see the other big thing we did. So all my tech folks, we approved digital kiosks now will be in 6 of our business corridors, as well as 3 of our MSD, Municipal Service District. And these are nice digital sign, touch screens that will advertise. And while we're doing it for the corridors, we want our small businesses be able to talk about their product and talk about their service and increase foot traffic for their businesses. So I think I covered all the big ones. Of course, the new swearing in is December 2nd. And then, as you all know, there's a very important election on Tuesday, November 4th. And so I would encourage each and every one of you all to vote for the one who has the microphone.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Let's give Kim a round of applause. And give her at least 3 minutes max in a closing statement.
So I appreciate the opportunity again to be here. This has proven to be a really just thoughtful space, and I appreciate being in those. I would just ask, every time I speak somewhere, I try to create ambassadors, because it really is all about relational organizing. So for me, if you know people in District 6 who may be on the fence about this race, if you have opportunities for me to come and speak, no group is really too small. I was with 6 folks at an HOA yesterday. I've enjoyed the most of this process, really collecting stories. I consider myself a problem solver and a storyteller, and I think that the stories that we hear from others are how we inform ourselves on how to land at solutions for our problems. So I would ask you to share the word about this race, that it is important that we fill the seat with somebody of good character and good intention and who will put Charlotte first. I am very appreciative of the process that I've been through and the number of opportunities that I've had to share that word. But really, if I go back to relational organizing, people trust you. You've proven yourselves leaders already by sitting in this room week after week and hearing about the issues and caring about them. So please share that with others. Kimberly Owens, my website is owensforcitycouncil.com. I will be sharing this forum, and I hope that you will help me share what happened today, either your experience in the room or with the video. I really do look for all the help I can get because it's going to take a lot of votes. District 5 was won by 34 votes. I'm assuming District 6 is also going to be very tight, and I just want what's best for Charlotte, so please help me get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie has a question for Mr. Majid, and we're going to let her ask her question because she needs to get the answer from him openly. But Ms. Majid, short answer.
15 seconds. You spoke as to how critical it was that Sherry Beasley ran. Tell us how critical is it for Anita Earls?
Oh. Well, Anita Earls is a minority, and we need to get some other people. Yeah, we can't lose that. I mean, we are deep in the quicksand. So it's very important that we have a voice there. You know, the opinions come up, and but we need to get in a better situation and get some other people, and they have to be Democrats, elected to office in the Supreme Court, so we can get this ship righted. Very important.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you all. And Carlina has a statement that she'd like to make, and then we will take announcements.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. My statement is the Observer did not endorse Ms. Owens nor James Mitchell. And they said the rationale of the reasoning was they needed diversity, not based on their qualifications and the fact that they are qualified and probably the best candidate, in my opinion. And I value that. But I want to say that we need to have the young lady who runs the Observer here, because we need to, sometimes you have to question why. And they stated that your opponent actually voted for Trump and wanted the troops to come into Charlotte. And as we can see this young man sitting beside me, what I'm trying to say is it is important for us to go out and vote, because that makes a difference, not an endorsement of someone, a lack of endorsement. So I'm asking you, please, on November 4th, go out and vote for these individuals if you're in their district with, it doesn't matter what district you're in, to vote for James Mitchell. They have done so much. And I know for a fact what you have done, and I truly appreciate it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Now we will take announcements. Kim, stay with us because we want to talk to you. We'll take announcements. No announcements?
Yep, right here. I start on November 7th at the Westin Hotel from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Who's Who in Black Charlotte is honoring my father, Tommy Robinson, as a living legend. And as most of you know, he has endured a health crisis and health challenges since then, and this will we're hoping will be his first public appearance to be able to accept the award and give somewhat of a speech. But that's on November 7th, Who's Who in Black Charlotte at the Westin Hotel. Thanks.
Other announcements?
Good morning, Ricky Robbins, Canada Sheriff. Just so you know, Friday's Halloween, and because we're always thinking about safety for kids, Ramesses Temple number 51 Shriners at 4919 Basefoot Road is having a trunk or treat, so you're welcome to bring out the youth. We'll be feeding them, showing a movie, and also have treats. And it starts at 6:30 p.m.
After 35 years of being smacked down, the last 2 years, the Johnson C. Smith University Golden Bulls smacked Winston-Salem State. So I just felt like it was important to say that, because Winston sure wasn't going to tell you.
What was the score?
It don't matter.
Was that real somewhere?
Okay, so hi y'all, I'm Alexis. I'm a community organizer for the North Carolina Association of Educators. We are having, or we're launching our parent training series that's going to be on a monthly basis, and it's starting this Thursday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's called Schoolhouse Voices on Mobilize. I think I already sent out the link, I'll send it again. But yeah, we are talking a lot about the kiddies and having opportunities for them and everything. So we're really trying to start putting up a fight against this attacks that's coming, oh my God,
Yes.
coming towards our schools and our kiddies, and we're really trying to invite parents to come with us in that.
And while y'all parents are getting trained, send your youth to Johnson C. Smith. Common Cause, Black Voters Matter, Advanced Carolina, North Carolina Black Alliance will be hosting a town hall for mayor and school board races in Grimes Lounge from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And at Johnson C. Smith. You want to say what that score was? Since we're talking about Johnson C. Smith.
What was the score?
I'll tell y'all on like Tuesday. I'm fine. I just want to let y'all know we are hosting a town hall at Johnson C. Smith Thursday.
When?
This Thursday is, I'm gonna send you the link, Steve. We do have a mobilized link for it as well. You said what?
I just want to follow up my announcements about Lip Fest that went down last weekend. Wanted to thank everybody for their participation. We had about 100 kids come out, get free books and food to eat, met their parents and shared literacy resources with them. I'd like to thank Women Greatness and Olivian, Charlotte Mecklenburg Library, my brother's Keeper, Freedom Fighting Missionaries. Alexis King showed up from the NCAE, and we had a great time. We look forward to doing that again. So thank you everyone for your support of Lip Fest.
The score was 52 to 57.
No, that's right. Just keep that score.
52 to 27.
No, you had it right first. Don't worry about it. But that's okay. That's okay. Listen. That is all right.
We'd like to remind of the citizens that during early voting, you can register to vote.
There's a young man named Nigel Malone, and he has an organization, really his, I guess you might say his creative thing is called Colorful Noise. And he's actually a professional photographer, but also very socially conscious. And this Thursday night at 7 o'clock at the Club Now on North Graham Street at Sugar Creek Road, I will be featured in his first podcast, and it's open to the public, and we're going to talk about any and everything. And for those of you who may be interested in what the topic is unfiltered. And oh boy, I'm going to have a good time. But please come out, and by the way, he is charging a $20 charge to come in. That ain't me, that's him. It's his business.
Christmas party, save your money.
Ladies and gentlemen, got one more in the back.
December 6th.
while I'm walking, December 16th is the Christmas party. So, Ms. Carlini Ivory will take the helm this year.
Chin. So I wanted to wait until Smudgy left the room. I don't want to invite Smudgy. No. I wanted to invite, my name is Sam Spencer. If you don't know me, I'm with the North Carolina Local News Lab Fund, and on November 11th, we are doing a screening with Charles Blow, formerly of the New York Times, who is presenting a film about the importance of local news and information sources across our country and what we are losing when we lose those information sources. So this is a private event except for the fact that we want to extend an invitation to any Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum regulars. It's the 11th, the 17th, Monday, November 11, 17, and you can, I'll send the RSVP link to Stephen, and so everybody can get it via email. RSVP is required, but if you're a forum regular, we'd love to see you there.
Ladies and gentlemen, please do not forget next week there will not be a forum. It is election day, right? November 4th? So no forum next week. Thank you for hanging out with us. Join us the week after, well, where our guest will be. Somebody amazing, incredible, so you should be here to find out. Thanks for joining us. Dr. Thomas, play us out.